Mercedes-Benz march towards electrification continues. In Australia, the brand already has 3 electric commercial vehicle lineups and 7 electric passenger car ranges, and this car makes number 8. It's the EQE SUV, and this is the base model, the 300. Now, the car is based on the EQE sedan, but with a shorter wheelbase and obviously with an SUV station wagon body. What this car doesn't do, however, is replace the GLE with its conventional range of engines and drivelines. And it won't do that for some time yet, because Mercedes understands that not every Australian consumer is ready to emotionally, culturally, or infrastructurally make the leap to an EV. But if you do have the means and you do have the will to go EV, and you still want a car that's not afraid of families, then this is a pretty interesting choice. Although the EQE SUV range launches with 4 distinct models, including an AMG variant, this first taste of the concept is restricted to the entry-level car, the EQE 300, which Mercedes reckons will claim a fair chunk of overall volumes. It starts at $134,900 plus on-road costs and includes things like embedded navigation, panoramic sunroof, heated front leather seats, a head-up display and AMG line interior fittings, which are optional in some markets. A highlight is the Burmester Dolby Atmos sound system, which fills in any sonic gaps in the cabin for a truly big sound. For the full story on what each variant costs and what model gets what, head to the written review at carsguide.com.au. Although it's based on the EQE sedan in terms of its platform, Mercedes has shortened the car to make it more manageable in an urban setting that is likely to include car parks and shopping centres. This is also one of the less visually challenging new Benzes in a while too, perhaps reflecting the fact that families buying a high-end SUV aren't looking to impress anybody, they just want a car that works. If you're familiar with modern Mercedes-Benzes, you're going to feel pretty comfortable in this car. Despite the radical EV driveline, the rest of the car is every inch a Mercedes. Now, in the back seat, that's good news because it means you get good air vents, reading lights, and a pair of charging ports down in the centre console in what 30 years ago would have been the ashtray. Kids don't smoke as much now, apparently. The rear seat's really good. I think the rear centre perch is still a bit of a... It's second prize, but let's face it, your little sister has to sit there, so not your problem. But the other thing about the SUV wagon body that not every car maker makes the most of is the fact that because the roof's high, you can place the front seats really high and have lots of legroom underneath. And this car's got it. It's actually a pretty nice place to be. So let's have a look in the back. The other thing a family SUV has to do, and how lazy are we getting as a race, is carry lots of stuff. And this car's got that covered. There's luggage nets, a good high floor, and under that, storage space for the charging cables and first aid kit and things like that. Safety triangle, pretty clever. With the seats up, there's 521, I think, litres of luggage and more than triple that with the seats folded flat. So it can carry lots of gear. My only concern is that blinding white. I would love to see what a wet, muddy Border Collie would make of that. The short answer would be a mess. But the good news is you can have the interior in other colours. While every other variant of the EQE SUV we'll see here features 2 electric motors and all-wheel drive, the 300 base model we're driving right now gets just a single motor and rear-wheel drive. Is that a problem? Not really, and it remains that while there's always enough performance on tap, the car is not intimidating to drive. The bald figures are 180 kilowatts of power, but a very meaningful 550 newton meters of torque delivered right from the drop of the hammer. There's no gearbox in a traditional sense, but the rear-wheel steering option is definitely worth the admission. A lot of modern electric cars seem to be all about performance. It's as if EV is the new black when it comes to going fast, and that's fair enough. But where this car's a bit different is that it's more sensibly powered. It's got a single electric motor, being the base model, but it's still got 180 kilowatts and still got plenty of torque thanks to the way the electric motor makes that torque, so it's instant. So you do still get a pretty good shove between the shoulder blades, you just don't get that wrecking ball in the ribs that some electric cars give you. In terms of the ride, it's actually a lot better than I thought it would be, given that it's on 265 40 21-inch wheels. Now that's not much of a sidewall. On bigger bumps, it actually rides them quite well. The suspension's pretty well resolved, I think, and beautifully damped. What I don't like so much is when you hit small pattery bumps like cat's eyes in the road and joins in the bitumen. That's when it gives up the fact that it's got very little sidewall on that tyre. So that's when you start to feel it. The other thing that's interesting about the car is that the steering ratio is really fast. Actually on the freeway, I think it's a tiny bit too fast, and especially on sports setting where you've got a little bit more weight, it almost seems a little bit fidgety, as if you're chasing the nose down the white line. Switch it to comfort and then point it at some twisty roads and it suddenly comes together, and that combination of a fast steering ratio and the rear wheel steering makes this car really quite good fun to drive in the twisties and quite agile into the bargain. You do get driver selectable drive modes in this car. There's eco, there's sport, there's comfort and there's individual. But because it's only got a single speed gearbox and not adjustable suspension, there's not actually that much that changes. The big thing is the steering, which adds more weight, but I don't think feels any better than it does in comfort. So I leave it in comfort. The EQE 300 comes with an 89 kilowatt lithium ion battery pack. It can be charged either via AC at home or DC on a commercial charger. If you have the optional Benz Wallbox home charger, taking the battery from 10% to 80% charged will take about 6.5 hours. Using a fast charger will cut that time to as little as 32 minutes. Mercedes claims a driving range of 539 kilometres according to the NEDC test protocols. To improve efficiency, there's also a heat pump system on board that uses heat from the battery and driveline to heat the cabin. Mercedes-Benz has, of course, built its corporate strategy around safety, so it's no surprise to find that even the base model 300e is an EQE SUV with the lot. That includes the Benz Driving Assistant Plus package that incorporates an attention monitor, brake assist, parking assist, speed limit monitoring, active lane keeping, and a 360-degree camera. No less than 10 airbags are fitted that work in conjunction with the Pre-Safe Plus package, which is technology that can anticipate an unavoidable collision and prepares the car to best cope with that. The full safety details are included in the written review at carsguide.com.au. Mercedes-Benz standard 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty applies to the new EQE SUV. And so does its specific EV warranty, which covers the high voltage batteries for 10 years or 250,000 kilometres, whichever comes first. Running costs will be very dependent on where and how you recharge the vehicle. Recharging from home on a solar array is the $0 alternative, while using commercial fast chargers will generally cost around 60 to 70 cents per kilowatt hour. While we're conditioned to think that more is better, and it often is, in the case of the entry-level EQE SUV, the simpler layout and more moderate but still hugely accessible performance hardly seems to play against it. Perhaps if it was marketed as a super high-end limousine or a performance car, that stuff would matter. But as a well-made, well-equipped, safe family car, perhaps the 300 model will emerge as the sweet spot in the EQE lineup. That said, for just $10,000 more, the all-wheel drive of the next model up, the EQE 350, seems pretty tempting too. Watch this space for a review of that car and the rest of the EQE SUV range.